is RTV6 News at Noon, working for you.
And we want to welcome you here to the News at Noon. I'm Lauren Casey. Todd Clausen is home this midday. Todd, we are back right into that July heat that we experienced for a long stretch of time. We had that nice little break from the heat and humidity, but yes, it's back and it is July.
Yeah, and it is going to stick around for a little while, Lauren. Unfortunately, we get a little bit of a break tomorrow with temperatures in the 80s, but the 90s for the foreseeable future. Outside right now, we're up to 87 already in Bloomington. 84 is the current temperature in Indy as well as Lafayette. Tipton at 83 degrees and Muncie at 85. There's some humidity out there. It's in the process of climbing. So heat index values right now, not terrible, but you can add a couple degrees to the actual temperatures, and that's what it feels like currently across the area. And this is the view from downtown to the north, and we have plenty of sunshine, and we will have the sunshine through the afternoon hours with just some high thin clouds moving in. However, off to our west, there is a pretty big complex of storms, and that will eventually make its way into our area later on tonight. I think we're dry through the evening rush and through sunset for the most part. There could be a stray shower to the northwest before we get to sunset, but anytime after sunset, we'll watch for these storms to come in. Some of them could be strong to severe, and then we'll deal with them throughout the overnight hours as well before they move out towards the Thursday morning commute, or at least the stronger storms. Some showers may linger. Parts of the area under marginal risk for severe weather. We'll talk more about the threats for you and look ahead to that stretch of 90-degree weather coming up in Maine weather in just a few minutes. Lauren.
Todd, thank you. A woman is dead and a child is in critical condition after firefighters pulled them from this second story of a burning apartment building. As you can see from the smoke and the massive flames, those could be seen for miles on the west side of Indianapolis. Fire crews were called out to this apartment building on Lupine Terrace that's near West 34th Street and I-465. The woman who was pulled from the building was taken to Eskenazi Hospital, where she was later pronounced dead. The child is still being treated at Riley Hospital. It took crews an hour and a half to get that fire under control, and it startled neighbors across the street from that complex.
Yeah, I was very scared. At first I thought it was firecrackers early in the morning. Like, what are they doing firecrackers? Until I came outside and saw the flames, like, it was so high.
Well, 16 others who live in the apartment complex were displaced by that fire. They did get out safely due to working smoke alarms. The Indianapolis Fire Department says one firefighter also suffered from minor injuries at the scene. Metro Police are still searching for a 4-year-old who may have been taken by a man. Officers say Dante Wright was last seen around 9 o'clock last night on the city's west side near Forest Pine Lane. Police say the child's father told them that he gave the boy to a man named Chad Robinette and that Robinette was supposed to be watching him. Since then, the parents of the boy say they have not been able to make contact with Robinette. Police say that he was last seen driving a 4-door dark-colored Buick. If you think you've seen the man or the 4-year-old, police say you need to call 911 or contact IMPD at the number on your screen. That's 317-327-3811. New this midday, police in Kokomo have arrested a teenager for the shooting of a 12-year-old outside of an apartment complex. The shooting happened just after 6 o'clock last night at the Terrace Meadows apartment on Marcia Court, just east of State Road 931. Officers arrested a 17-year-old suspect, and they tell us that he was firing shots at a group of people in a parking lot when the boy was hit. The victim is being treated at Riley Children's Hospital. We'll keep you updated. Also new today, the next federal execution that was scheduled to take place in Terre Haute is on hold for now. Wesley Ira Perkey was scheduled to be put to death today for the 1998 murder of a girl in Kansas City, Missouri. But Perkey's attorneys filed a lawsuit arguing that Perkey now suffers from dementia and doesn't remember committing the crime. A judge put a hold on the execution to hear arguments in that lawsuit. The Justice Department has appealed the ruling in an effort to have the execution move forward. New numbers on COVID-19 are just in from the State Department of Health. The number of new cases are ticking upward once again. The state reporting 700 new cases today. 10 new deaths were also reported. In some other news that is not so good, the number of people in hospitals for COVID-19 shot up to 881. The state's intensive care bed capacity also dropped to less than 36%. We'll hear more on these numbers from Governor Holcomb during his briefing this afternoon. You can watch that live at 2:30 today right here on RTV6 and also at theindychannel.com. The streets that were closed by the city of Indianapolis to help promote outdoor dining during the pandemic will remain shut down a little bit longer. This morning, the Department of Public Works announced the closure of Mass Ave, Georgia Street, and Broad Ripple Avenue, and that will be extended through Labor Day weekend. The closure was set to come to an end this weekend, but the city says it's gotten some positive feedback from restaurants and merchants about the closures. The streets were scheduled to open back up to traffic again this coming weekend, so that has been pushed back. Another school district says it will keep students out of the classroom for now in response to the ongoing pandemic. The school board in Anderson voted unanimously to open schools with virtual classes only. Anderson initially was going to offer both in-person and online classes when the school year begins August 5th. Now students will be taught entirely from home until at least September 9th. The board says that's when it will reassess the risk of sending students and teachers back inside the school buildings. The vote came after Washington Township schools in Marion County decided to offer only virtual classes for the foreseeable future. Several businesses started requiring customers to wear masks during the pandemic, but this is by far the biggest one. Today, Walmart announced that face coverings would soon be mandatory for its customers. Walmart says anyone who shops at a Walmart or a Sam's Club store will be required to wear a mask starting this coming Monday, July 20th. The company says that will allow plenty of time for customers to be ready and allow employees to be trained on how to enforce the policy. Best Buy and Starbucks stores began requiring face coverings for customers today. The number of COVID-19 cases and deaths continues to rise across the country, and the head of the CDC is warning that we could face one of the worst public health situations in the country's history in the coming months. ABC's Trevor Alt has more.
America's battle against COVID-19 is growing more dire by the day. ICU beds are already filling up across the South, and a FEMA document obtained by ABC News highlights hospitals in 33 states are now reporting a shortage of healthcare workers.
We are full. The vacancy light is off.
School districts across the country are now considering when and how to bring students back to school. In Florida, teachers are asking their school districts to defy Governor Ron DeSantis' order to resume in-person classes in August.
The reality is, face-to-face teaching under the best of conditions with the best of plans and the most competent guidance is manifestly unsafe, given the explosion of cases we're experiencing.
Sobering words coming from the CDC, warning it could be a long time before we see any light at the end of the tunnel.
I do think the fall and the winter of 2020 and 2021 are going to be probably one of the most difficult times that we've experienced in American public health.
But a glimmer of hope, the vaccine created by U.S. biotech company Moderna, partnered with the National Institute of Health, is on its way to phase 3 of testing after its phase 1 vaccine trial found that of 45 people who were given the vaccine, all developed antibodies.
Our data demonstrated that indeed the more dose we give, the higher the immune response. And I think it allowed us to nicely define what we believe is the optimal dose to take further into what are called late phase or phase 3 trials.
It's still unknown whether COVID-19 antibodies give you full immunity or how long that immunity might last, but Dr. Anthony Fauci says this latest vaccine development is certainly good news, and he says Moderna and other companies tell him they could manufacture up to 1 billion doses of a vaccine by next year or the next year and a half. Trevor Alt, ABC News, New York.
Well, the school year will be quite different for students and teachers this year, but up next we'll show you how one school district is bringing in a couple of visitors to help everyone cope with all the changes that are being made. Todd.
And Lauren, it's nice and dry right now with plenty of sunshine across the central Indiana with temperatures climbing up into the 80s. But there are storms off to our west and they will arrive later on this evening. Some of them could be strong to severe. We'll talk all about it coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast when the news at noon continues right here on RTV6.
Well, the Franklin Community School System down in Johnson County has a really unique way to help students when they begin a very different school year. The school district will deploy 2 therapy dogs when classes resume. This here is Millie. She's an Australian Labradoodle. The 9-month-old and her fellow canine hero will assist the district with mental health care services. Specifically, they're going to help with social and emotional needs in the classroom.
They tend to kind of relieve that anxiety, just put kids at ease, and just really help set the stage for learning to occur.
The money to pay for these dogs came through part of the referendum passed by voters to improve teacher salaries and to invest in mental health services. So COVID-19 has affected how many of us do our jobs, but that's especially true of firefighters. Next, we'll take a look at how the coronavirus has changed how they handle emergencies. And let's take a look outside right now. A view of the city's skyline, blue, clear skies up ahead, and we know the temperatures are heating up. We'll check in with Todd and get his full forecast for the week and weekend ahead. That's still to come. You're watching the news at noon right here on RTV6. Welcome back. Friday Night Lights will shine brightly this week on the RTV6 Facebook page. Graduating seniors will be honored at the National Football Foundation Central Indiana Chapter Annual Scholastic Awards. Now, Sports Director Dave First is hosting as 15 student athletes from 14 area schools are selected. You can watch Friday night at 7:30. It's only on the RTV6 Facebook page. For those who are coming in contact with COVID-19 patients, possibly before people are even diagnosed, we know safety precautions are key. Our Alyssa Donovan found out what the Carmel Fire Department is doing to be prepared when they're responding to calls.
As we deal with daily changes with COVID-19, first responders with Carmel Fire Department are doing everything they can to keep themselves and you safe.
This is the new normal for firefighter and EMT Matt DeRiker. Putting on protective pants, a protective jacket, an N95 mask, and glasses before every run. After they return to the station, they spray down themselves and their equipment with disinfectant. These are some of the many steps the Carmel Fire Department is taking to keep their crews and you safe. The department stocked up on PPE like N95 masks, gowns, paper masks, disinfectant, and hand sanitizer. They're also doing a temperature check anytime someone enters the building. And each firefighter is getting tested weekly for COVID. A test that is not only for their safety, but for those they're serving in the community.
We're not just going on COVID patients, we're not just going on fires, we're going into the homes of the people that are very sickest. So if we can find out early and often that somebody is possibly positive and then keep them out of that equation until they're safe to go into it, it's going to help keep the citizens safer.
Fire officials are keeping an eye on trends with the virus to determine if any changes will need to be made to the protocols. But for now, this is the new normal for crews working in Carmel. I'm Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thank you. We do want to take a turn now to our forecast, and it's heating up out there. Todd, what can we expect for our lunch hour and for the rest of the week?
Yeah, you know, Lauren, we're going to continue to see these temperatures start to climb over the next few hours, and many of us get close to 90 degrees once again this afternoon. And this heat and humidity is going to be here to stay. Now, we're dry right now throughout much of the afternoon. Here's a live look in Bloomington, and you can see off in the distance a little more in the way of cloud cover. And that's one thing you will notice throughout the afternoon is these clouds will start to increase a little bit, and that's ahead of a front that is going to be kind of a player in our forecast not only tonight, but in the coming days as well. We'll quickly hit the temperatures for you before we talk about the storms. 85 in Muncie, 84 in Martinsville, 87 is the current temperature in Bloomington, 84 in Greencastle. Factor in a little bit of humidity and those temperatures feel slightly warmer than the actual numbers, but nothing terrible. Highs today in the upper 80s in the northern locations. That puts us above the normal high of 85. 90s though, Greencastle down towards Bloomington, over towards the Bedford area, and then in and around the metro area. High temperatures should generally get up to right around 90 degrees. That is slightly above normal, and with the humidity coming up a little bit today, it'll start to get more and more uncomfortable as the day goes on. Now, the one thing that will happen is the clouds will increase. So instead of that bright sunshine, even though it starts to warm, you won't have the direct sunlight. So that'll kind of help things a little bit. And this complex of storms is off to our west. And this is what we'll be watching for later on this evening and eventually into the overnight hours. The timing works out in our advantage, though, with the front not arriving until, for the most part, after sunset. There could be a stray shower in western locations before sunset, which is a little after 9 o'clock this evening. But the bulk of the storm action will arrive closer to 10, 11 o'clock, with southern locations probably having the best potential to see some of these stronger storms move through. But we all should get into some rain throughout the overnight hours. But overnight, it's probably more of a light rain with just some pockets here and there of thunderstorms, not a solid line coming through. And because it's coming through overnight, again, it'll be weakening as it does so. And then most of the heavy rainfall should be out of here by the morning commute. So it's a slight and enhanced risk in Illinois. It's just a marginal risk for parts of the area in central Indiana. It does not include Indianapolis. The main threat for these storms as they come in, and it's just a medium threat, would be wind. The hail and tornado threat is pretty low with these storms. And of course, the lightning would make every thunderstorm dangerous. Tomorrow's a little bit cooler due to more in the way of cloud cover and some scattered showers and storms in the forecast. But then the heat comes right back as you look at your 7-day planning forecast. 91 on Friday, as high as 95 on Sunday. And then we stay around 94 degrees on Monday and Tuesday. Each one of those days, you know the drill at this point, those pop-up storms and the heat and humidity. And Lauren, some of those heat index values as we get into the weekend and next week with those highs in the mid-90s, that'll put the heat index values over 100 for, I think, a couple days, unfortunately, in a row.
We are at the very beginning stages of planning significantly more in-person voting sites for Election Day.
Well, those plans could mean voters in Marion County won't face the long lines in November like the ones seen here during the primary election in June. With 16 weeks until the general election, there's a lot to know. Our Cornelius Hawker reached out to the Marion County election officials to find out what's being done to make sure that everyone can exercise their right to vote.
We're doing everything that we can to help prevent those long lines.
Russell Hollis, Deputy Director with the Marion County Clerk's Office, tells me making the voting experience better for the general election is a top priority.
Ideally, we'll have voting for the full 28-day period, which is the normal early voting period.
Along with early voting, Hollis also wants people to know about the option to vote by mail.
We encourage them to use the state's online portal to vote by mail. It's a more efficient process for voters, and it does eliminate some of the steps for error that a voter can make when applying on a paper application.
As more people consider voting by mail to cut down on the risk of contracting coronavirus, Hollis encourages you to make sure you read all the instructions that come with absentee ballots. Marion County didn't count 1,806 of the ballots they received for the primary election.
Some of the ballots that were rejected because they were lacking the voter's signature. So there is a signature space in yellow on the back of the return envelope, and the election board must match the voter's signature on the application with the signature that is on the back of that return envelope.
November's election is going to have its challenges. Hollis wants voters to know election officials are doing all they can to make things easier.
You'll see less lines or smaller lines on Election Day.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, RTV6.
Cornelius, thank you. The number of in-person voting places has not been decided yet, but Hollis says there will be more that were offered than what we saw during the primary. Let's take a live look outside right now. We're going to have another check of Todd's forecast and more news coming up just after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Queen Elizabeth is set to make her first public appearance in months this Friday. She will knight Captain Sir Tom Moore. You may recall he's the 100-year-old English war vet who raised more than $40 million for UK's National Health Service by walking laps around his garden. Buckingham Palace said in a statement that members of Captain Tom's family will attend this event at the Queen's royal residence in Berkshire. It will be the Queen's first public engagement since she began limiting her activity in March amid the coronavirus pandemic. In a message on his Twitter account, Captain Sir Tom Moore said, quote, "I could never have imagined this would happen to me. It's such a huge honor, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting Her Majesty the Queen." Very cool. We're looking forward to seeing that. We've been following his story and all the money that he's raised. So, Todd, that's pretty cool.
Yep, absolutely. Very cool. What an honor for him. All right, as we go into the next few days, we will have some thunderstorms enter the forecast. We're dry through the daytime hours today, Lauren, and then overnight tonight or even after sunset, we'll see some storms move in. Showers and storms tomorrow, 88, and then the real heat and humidity builds in. Today's kind of a precursor for that. Heat index values could be over 100 by the end of the weekend.
Todd, thank you, and thanks for joining us making RTV6 your choice for news. We'll see you back here at 5.